Nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out.
The goal of creating artificial intelligence was for them to become gods, to create a collective mind, a global computer that sees all, sees everything, to create an all-seeing eye.
The use of neural interfacing and physiological interfacing through the idea of remote-controlled small-scale systems to create a nanoswarm of biopenetrable materials that you cannot see, that can penetrate biochemical filters, that are able to integrate themselves through a variety of membranes, mucous membranes, and wherever, mouth, nose, ears, eyes, and they can be done in such a level that their presence is almost impossible to detect, and as such the attribution becomes exceedingly difficult to demonstrate. The idea here is to read and write into the brain function in real time, remotely. What this has now done is put the brain literally at our fingertips of investigation, parting the proverbial curtains of the vagaries of what the structures and functions of the brain may do, but also parting those curtains of capability to allow us to literally go in up to the elbows to be able to assess, affect, manipulate, and control the brain.
Rather than hardware and software, they're actually going to a new form of software, and that is the biological replacement of the human brain, functioning as a quantum computer biologically, and then loading people, integrating people into this new form of brain.
There will be a virtual version of your brain as far as data is concerned, of what molecules, what chemicals, and whatever make up the actual physical brain. That data could be stored in the computer.
And that model would have the same input-output behavior as the original. So,
if our brains are connected to the internet, and if our brains are all connected, I could literally go into your head and see through your eyes.
As a result of being programmed in virtual reality, the agents had the ability to take over the simulated body of any human that was a part of the Matrix, converting it into a copy of their own. If that body was killed, or an agent needed to change its location quickly, it would simply take on the shell of another human that was hardwired to the Matrix in a matter of seconds.
So Google was set up 18, 19 years ago to build a giant artificial supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity, with billions of people wired into it with the Internet of Things. And so all of our thoughts go into it.
And everything you think, from your feeling of self, to the feeling that you may have a soul, to your preference for cilantro or not, all of those things live inside a place which is dark and small and never sees the outside world.
In 2006, and the Sentient World Simulation, SWS, went live in 2007, which represents every person on the planet within this computer matrix as a node, and every node is given an avatar, an identifier. And that is real-time, 24/7 monitoring of every person on the planet. This is primarily, but not exclusively, facilitated by the adiabatic quantum computers produced by D-Wave Corporation. The adiabatic quantum computer is linked to 7 billion human brains. It is now, in its own language of cryptology, able to function independent of any oversight throughout the world with its own form of communication, its own form of code. And it is able to link everyone on the planet at this point.
And what we are trying to do is to use this precious knowledge to build machines that can actually create, manipulate, and use these parallel realities in the service of this one. We want to grab those parallel realities from this abstract space in which they live and crunch them down into this chip.
And you start thinking about us being the qubits in some massive giant quantum computing simulation. It's almost as if they're either trying to harness or to recreate what is commonly referred to as a collective consciousness.
It's an engineered thing which has become a nexus point for all of these parallel realities. The shadows of all of these different universes intersect at a physical point inside of one of those boxes. You can think of it as a portal to all of these other alternate possibilities.